we treat that like it's almost a Bible, and we follow that through, and that helps me keep on top of it, on top of what's going on. It's like almost like a checklist to just keep pushing. Okay, we've done that. Now we've got to do this. Now we've got to do this. Now we've got to do this. And and the systems are very clear, and the clients love the systems and that they're so clear, and everyone knows what's going on.
Hi. I'm Beth Biesky, the founder of More Time to Design and your host of the Design Dialogues podcast. I've been a designer for the last 12 years and I've run my own studio for 5. And I know how hard it is to run a successful business. You not only need to be great at designing, but you need to be great at all the other things as well. I created More Time to Design, a software platform to help designers run efficient studios, and I've created the Design Dialogue podcast to help us all learn together. Each week, we will meet professionals who are at the top of their game doing things that help us run our studios. We'll have conversations with social media managers, interior design mentors, copywriters, stylists, photographers, suppliers, and also designers who have been in the game for a long time and who have such a wealth of knowledge to share. I hope that each week you feel inspired and informed at the end of each of our design dialogues. So join me for the Design Dialogue podcast. Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Design Dialogues podcast. This week I am joined by Cate Liedtke from Catherine Demure Interiors. Hi Kate.
Hey Beth, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining me today. So I always love to hear what you can see out your window today.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Outside my window is my garden.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so it's very, very green and lush, and it's I love looking out that window at the garden. It gives me some nice inspiration sometimes.
Lovely. Sounds like a lovely place to get some work done. So tell us a little bit about how, your journey into interior design and how you came about starting Catherine Demure Interiors.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's a long story. I'll try and give you the short version. So this is my second career. So I fell into being an EA straight out of school. I went to Metropolitan Business College and then became an EA and did that for quite a few years, and then worked in my family business for my father. He was in commercial carpet. And then I worked for my family business with my father and my brother. He had a CrimSafe franchise. And then worked for an eye surgeon, and this was about 2010. I remember bending down, filing client cards on a Friday afternoon, and I thought to myself, there has to be more to life than this.
Yep.
It really does. And for me, that was a big thing because I had quite a traumatic experience at school where I was pulled up by a teacher and told I wouldn't amount to anything, and that plagued me for many years and made me think I couldn't do anything. So we got to about 2010, and I had a conversation with a lady who I didn't realise was an interior designer, and we're out to dinner, and she said to me, my daughter and I, we're interior designers. And seriously, it was like a bolt of lightning went through my body because I was searching for something and I didn't know what I wanted to do. Floristry, midwifery. Didn't think that I was good enough to do interior design, but this bolt of lightning was so compelling that I went home from that dinner and I Googled design schools, and I started in 2010 at the ISCD. And from there, worked a little bit still with the eye surgeon until I built up my business, and then left and started a business called Style and Design. So, and that was a lovely business, and I got to work with lots of great clients, and we did a lot of different kind of design. One minute I'd be doing Hamptons, the next minute I'd be doing industrial. I loved it. But in about 2018, just something shifted in me again, and I thought to myself, I want more from this. I think I think I need to back myself a little bit more
Yeah.
and really have a go.
Yeah.
So I had a business coach at the time, and I approached her and I said to her, I want to really sink my teeth into what I want to do in interior design. I want to work on high-end projects. I have very expensive taste. I want to be able to flex that. You know,
Yeah.
I want to see what I can do. What am I
Yeah.
really capable of? You know,
Yeah.
because I felt like even though I was doing great work and the clients were happy and it was word of mouth
Yeah.
work, it wasn't really pushing the boundaries for me on what I could do.
Yeah.
So she worked with me. We worked for 2 years together, and we did a lot of work and a lot of background work, really working out who was my ideal client, everything. That
Yeah.
was so important, actually. I feel like now to have spent the 2 years doing that work, because it
Yeah.
paid off.
Yeah.
And so then I found a great social media person, because I'm good at a lot of things, but that is not my skill set. And I'm a very firm believer in you work to your skill set, and what you're
Yeah.
not good at, you outsource.
Yep. Yep.
So I found this great girl to do my socials. And I think the day that they did the first COVID lockdown was our first post on Instagram. Mhm. Yep. And
2 years and then that.
and then that, there was a crescendo, and then there was a massive, like,
Yeah.
crash.
Yeah.
I'd actually decided, because I thought actually initially that I was going to run the both businesses at once,
Yep.
and then just work my way into building up Catherine Demare Interiors,
Yep.
to the point where I even got a separate phone for Catherine
Yep.
Demare Interiors, and I had one for style and design. But just something, like, one day I said to myself, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Just jump in with both feet. Just go
Yeah.
for it. What have you got to lose? You know, you've got everything to gain and nothing to lose. And I think doing that 2 years of work really gave me the confidence to know that I knew I knew where I wanted to go. I knew who I was targeting and who I wanted to work with. And that really helped me to have the confidence to push forward. So then, yes,
Yeah.
fast forwarding to our, what was it? Some date at the end of March,
Yep.
was like, I thought to myself, well, that's plan didn't work out the way you thought it was. Gonna work out, did it? What are you going to do now?
Yeah.
Luckily for me, I had a job that I knew was going to be my launching project for Catherine Demare Interiors.
Yeah.
And I had a client who was very on board with that.
Yeah.
And so we actually flogged that job on socials for over 2 years.
Yeah.
I wasn't, because how was I going to get any work? You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, yeah, it was quite an interesting time, and I just had to trust the universe, quite frankly, that it was all going to work
Yeah.
out, and it did.
So it's so interesting. So like from already I've got like follow-up questions. So a couple of things throughout that whole story, it's moments where you've obviously been very in tune to what you want out of life. And one of the things that I
Mm,
think is so important I think for everyone, but I think also for women, because I think we get told stories and we get told things, whether it's at school, from our parents, from our family, from a random stranger kind of thing, that really do frame the way we think for a lot longer than it should. You know, like I've got stories around that, you know, oh my God, that's a whole other podcast episode. But I have stories around like stuff that happened at school that had a massive impact on my life for 15, 20
mm,
years, really. And I think
mm,
it's really
mm,
interesting when you kind of park that and really start thinking about what does success mean for me?
mm,
And am I living that life? I
mm,
think that it's really interesting that that's come up for you not just once, but a couple of times
Mm,
in how your career path has kind of traveled along.
mm,
And
mm,
is that something that you think you're conscious of, or is it something like, does it sit with you and then you kind of, it just feels wrong? Like, how do you think that? Because I think sometimes people struggle to also give themselves permission to do that. Like, you'd had that career of working in family businesses and, like EA kind of roles,
mm,
giving yourself permission to then kind of go, actually, I'm going to do something totally different.
mm,
Like,
mm,
have you always, is that something you've had to learn to do,
mm.
or is it something that you've always kind of had?
No, I had to learn.
Yeah.
I honestly, when a teacher pulls you up as a young child and says to you, well, you got the lowest mark in the maths class and you're too dumb to ever amount to anything. If you are a
Mm,
sensitive empath, you're shutting down.
yeah.
And that's what happened. And it took me
Yeah.
nearly till 40 to say, enough, enough.
Yeah.
And you wake up to yourself
Oh,
and
it's,
enough.
yeah. It's so interesting that you say that 40 mark. So I think my late 30s, early 40s, um, there's something that clicks then and you go, actually, I don't care anymore. Like, like I don't know if there's a confidence that you get or what it is kind of thing, but I think that's a really interesting age
Mm,
for people,
mm,
women in
yeah,
particular. I think it's something happens and you're kind of like,
yeah,
my level of care is now zero.
yeah,
Like it's my life. I don't care what you think. I'm going on with it kind of thing. And there's something so really empowering about that and almost this energy that you get from it. Like it's actually quite intoxicating in
yeah.
a way.
It's exciting. It's
Yeah, it's
exciting.
really exciting.
Yeah. And I think, I know this sounds a little bit morbid probably, but I just didn't, when I was filing that, that Friday afternoon, I thought to myself, do you really want to be lying on your deathbed saying,
Yeah.
I never gave anything a go?
Yeah.
I just rolled over and let that annihilate my entire life.
Yeah.
Up until that point, I didn't know what goals were.
Yeah.
I didn't strive for anything. I had hope. I knew there was something in there. I just innately knew there was
Yeah.
something great in there and I had something to offer, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I think that lightning, like honestly, went straight through my head and through my body, which is kind of how I get signs. Um,
Yep.
Sorry if that's a bit woo woo, but
No.
yeah, that was a pivotal moment for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wow, so interesting. So then the other thing that I think a lot of people sometimes when they have that kind of moment of I want to change my career, I want to start interior design, maybe they were told, which I think is a very common like line, you'll never make any money. Like it's not, you can't make money in a creative industry, like go and get a proper job kind of thing. And you come back to it kind of thing. What are some of those skills that you had learned throughout all of your, previous careers that you think really helped you when you started your own business?
Definitely, growing up in a family business
Yeah.
was that. Well, there's a mindset.
Yeah.
There's a there's just a mindset that that you have, right or wrong. You know, you work really hard. You know, you and then you just plow through and you just make it happen. And
Yeah.
um, I think that's really been important for me. In saying that, my dad worked long hours. I believe you can have the success without flogging yourself to death.
Yes.
Um, I, I believe there's got to be a balance
Yeah.
because life's
Yeah. Yeah.
meant for more than that, and
Yeah.
there's no longevity in it. Um, Definitely, the being an EA helped with organisation, but
Mm.
as someone who has ADD, which explains, my schooling,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I've struggled with the organisation, which is, hard.
Mm.
But I've got there. I mean, I'm there now. But
Yeah.
yeah, I really do think working in those businesses really, really helped. Even though I didn't know the integral ins and outs of my dad's
Yep.
business as a kid, coming in later on, yeah, that helped a lot.
Yeah, and I think acknowledging those transferable skills that you have from your previous career, or even like, as you said, like your situation where you were surrounded by small business your whole life.
Mm.
Like, I think don't ever um, dismiss those, because it's really kind of crucial.
Mm.
And I think as well, like, there's really no playbook to how to run a small business, because it's going to be different for everyone, kind of thing. But there's definitely guiding principles that you can draw from really any small business to help you run a successful small business. One of the other things that you just touched on, which I think is really interesting. So with your ADD,
Mm.
did you have, how did you reach out to anyone? Did you have a guide or a coach to help you with that? Because I think that's a really interesting dynamic in a business.
Mm. To work with that,
Yeah.
no. I just, oh no, why would you do that? You just struggle through on your own, wouldn't you? Beating your head against a brick wall. Do you know what really helped me? What
Yeah.
really actually helped me was, yes, actually a coach.
Yeah.
Andrew Mitchell. I went and did a
Yeah.
couple of his courses, the design coach. His courses were life-changing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's changed my business a lot.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
I love hearing how, like, I'm a big believer in having coaches.
Mm.
And sometimes that, I think, is a formal relationship. So, doing a course with Andrew, or, all of the design, like the different design coaches out there at the moment. And then sometimes I think there's an informal coach mentor relationship that can also be a massive part of your business. For me, I have some people in my life who have absolutely nothing to do with interior design, and they actually don't have anything to really do with small business either. But they are just very wise people that I put a lot of value and a lot of weight in their opinions, and they're just amazing soundboards. And that to me is also a coaching element to my business.
Oh, absolutely.
So I am an absolute massive, massive fan of mentor and coaching. Like, I think it's such an important part of your business. And I think as well, there's going to be times when different coaches are right for you. I don't necessarily think that the one coach is going to see you through. And sometimes they're going to be like an interior design focused coach, but sometimes they might be a money coach or a business coach,
Yeah.
or even just like a personal development coach.
Yeah.
So I'm a really big fan of, or a big advocate for coaching. I think, you think about an athlete, they have coaches and they have different types of coaches and all of that kind of stuff. And I think, there's nothing wrong with saying that you need help. It's actually a real sign of maturity and self-awareness.
Yeah, it's strength. Yeah. I think about when I've had the biggest up levels in my business, and that would be when I'm working with a coach.
Yeah. And I think as well, like, there's an accountability that comes from it. It just, I mean, and if I reflect on my businesses as well, I'm the same. Like, when I've had moments of real clarity and real kind of progression in the businesses, it's when I've had coaches or and a lot of that is around accountability and making sure that you can have all these grand plans. Like, it's not hard to come up with the big plans. Like, as you were saying, like with your transition from style and design to Catherine Demure, you didn't need a coach to help you come up with the big idea. but that big idea had 100 little steps before it became a reality.
That's right.
So having a coach to help you get from step 1 to step 100,
Hmm.
that's where
That's
the
right.
real magic
That's
happens.
right. And you know, and that coach, and she was Vashti. She was very, she was a great coach. She really did up level my business. She was my first business coach. Yeah, she, you know, she. It's about getting that. What is your grand vision? What do you want to get out of this? And
Yeah.
sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees because you know you're so in it. So you need someone who's got an unbiased opinion, who knows you because they've been working with you, to say to you, have you thought about going this way? Have you thought
Yeah.
about doing it that way? You know, what's your ultimate goal here? Let's write them down. You know, then
Yeah.
let's work towards them.
Yeah. I think as well, you just touched on it as well. You, the relationship between coach and you, it it has to be someone that understands you and understands what you're wanting to achieve. Like, what is your success?
Mm.
And what does that look like to you? Because a coach that doesn't understand that, they're not going to help you make decisions that are going to get you to where you want to go. So I think that's a really important thing to think about when you're picking a coach. It's not just that they work in your industry or they're the one that's, you know, the flavor of the day. It has to really be someone who you like, who understands you and understands your industry and understands what success means to you, kind of thing. So it's interesting that you said you worked with them for 2 years. I think that's a really important thing to understand when you are looking at a coach. Like, it is not a three, like if you, it's not a 3-month thing. Like, it's a long-term relationship.
It's probably more than that. Like we were probably working together, oh, maybe 18 months before I came to her and said, okay, I've decided now. I'm up leveling this. Can you help me? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, we'd both been together 4 years. But what you said is right. You get to a point where you say, okay, I've got what I needed to out of that experience with that coach. Now I'm going to have a go
Yeah.
on my own for a bit, and then
Yep.
you move on to the next person. Well, that's how I think too, because then you get the best of both worlds. You know, you get
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's it's nothing really with the first coach. It's
no,
just that some coaches, I think, are great for those initial stages, and then you kind of grow, and you know, it's just a whole different phase.
that's right.
Uh, I know that networking is a big part. You're a big networker. How has that played into the success of your business, and how important do you think that is?
It's interesting, you know. I'm not sure whether I necessarily have got eons of work out of
Yep.
networking, but what I can say that I've got is um, I've built some amazing friendships
Yeah.
and people in this industry
Yeah.
who are incredible at not only what they do, but in their own businesses and how they run them.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've got a tribe, and I feel
Yeah.
like I could ring up any one of them and say, I have this issue. How would you handle it? And they could do that for me, and we would, you know, we would help each other.
Yeah.
And that's what I was looking for when I came into this.
Yeah.
My goal first when I first said, yep, let's do interior design, I'd had experience with it through working with my dad in the commercial carpet industry and interior designers. And there was a connotation, you know, in the industry that interior designers, it was cutthroat and you didn't help each other, and you know, you'd walk
Yes.
over your own mother's grave to, you know, all of that.
Yep.
So from the first day I went to ISCD, I thought to myself, right, I've got an opportunity here. It only takes one person. I've got an opportunity to try and change the narrative on this.
Mm.
So that's what I've tried to do since then.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Like, I've had so many conversations with designers that there has been a real shift in the industry in the last 5-ish years where it has gone from that no one talks about anything, you are out, like it's each man for their own kind of thing, to that sense of actually, I think as a collective, a lot of designers have gone, why? Like, why are we like that? Like, and I think I agree. I don't think you do networking to get a client. That might come out of it because, it's a happy thing that happens. But really what you get out of networking is it's the relationships with other designers, there's the suppliers, it's just the camaraderie that I think, especially if you work on your own or maybe in a small team, and if you're the business owner, it's really lovely to have those other business owners that you can talk to and kind of go, oh, how are you doing this? Or I've got this issue. Or
Mm.
it's a really lovely thing.
Mm.
And I think it can be daunting sometimes for new designers to get out there, or even designers, not necessarily new designers, but designers that haven't done it before or don't make the effort to.
Mm.
And, we were joking before, neither of us love the cold. And so doing it in winter is even harder. But
Kudos to us if we get out.
yeah. But I think when you make the effort and you do get out there, you really do reap so many rewards for your business.
Yeah, and personally too.
Yeah.
And, it's not even what you can get out of it. For me, it would be if I could help one person just through a conversation, then job done. Like,
Yeah.
for me, I think that anyone that pretty much goes into this industry is some kind of helper. They want to, and I'm going to say the
Yeah.
word serve, but I don't mean that in a subservient way. I mean help
No.
people,
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a really lovely way of putting it, because I think so often clients can be really demanding and you can get to the point you're like, why are we doing it? But when you work with a client who, and like I'm thinking of one of my past clients in particular, so they were building their family home, and they had 2 small children, and it was the home that they were building. They planned to spend, the next 15 years there. And they had never renovated before or built before. And so it really was me guiding, like along with the other part of the team, but guiding them through that process to make decisions that would allow them to have the kind of lifestyle they wanted in this beautiful home.
Mm.
And there is that level of serving them to help them.
Mm.
And there is something very, very lovely about that. And it's not just about pretty cushions and fancy fridges. It's so much more than that. And yeah, it's really lovely.
Yeah, it's joy. I think it's joy. I think there's at the end of a job to be able to hand something over and you've exceeded their expectations far beyond what they could do. Just
Oh,
the
yeah.
joy of that. Even though every job there's a rough patch, every job,
Of course,
that's
of
part of the
course.
course. But I think, like, how lucky am I?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a good job.
Yeah, it's a great job. I just feel so lucky.
At the moment, with everything, buildings costing more, and it's a challenging time in the industry at the moment. I think sometimes we forget that.
Yeah, and
And,
then when things go wrong on jobs, you forget it. I mean,
oh,
I had
yeah.
a period, in 2022 where things were going wrong. Not my fault, but
Yeah,
I took that very seriously and took that on board. And yeah, that was not fun. I looked at my dog and I thought to myself, I can hear you at this point in
yeah,
time. Can we
yeah.
switch places, please? But you get through it, you learn, and
Yeah,
get back on
exactly.
the horse, and you get with your lovely clients, and you go, yep, this is just great.
Yeah. And I think it's also normalizing that is normal in a business.
Mm.
That does not mean that you're a bad designer. It doesn't mean you've got a bad business. It is normal. Like, it is really, really normal for things to go wrong.
Yeah, yeah. Just don't identify yourself so much with your business that it
Yes.
actually erodes your own self-esteem. You need to be
Yeah,
able to
exactly.
separate the two. because you
Yeah,
have a
exactly.
business.
No, exactly.
Mm.
So, um, what kind of systems and processes do you have in your business that help you run this successful business? You have beautiful projects with so many moving parts. What are some of the things you do to help
Mm.
you in your day to day to make sure you keep on top of everything?
I think the first thing, and this is what I learned from Andrew doing one of his courses, is to take down a very thorough scope of work at the
Yep.
initial consultation. And we treat that like it's almost a Bible.
Yeah.
And we follow that through. And that helps me keep on top of it, on top of what's going on. It's like almost like a checklist for
Yeah.
me to just keep pushing. Okay, I've done that. Now we've got to do this. Now we've got to do this. Now we've got to do this. Um,
Yep.
and and the systems are very clear, and the clients love the systems and that they're so
Yeah.
clear, and everyone knows what's going on. But for me, I've actually gone back to a paper diary,
Yeah.
and I just write everything in that. On a Sunday afternoon, I try and give myself an hour and a half here in the studio to just try and work out how my week's going to roll, so that I
Yep.
can get some kind of clarity, because I can go off
Yep.
on a tangent pretty quick, so the rabbit holes are huge. So,
Yeah.
but that it's just learning, and I'm learning every day and getting better and better at not going down those rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And
And I think, look, I'm a big I actually went back to a paper diary this year as well. I still use an electronic diary for a lot of things, but it's almost a bit of a notebook slash diary. And I'm a big fan of that, starting your week with a plan.
mm,
Um, and I think that really helps um, set yourself up for success throughout the week.
yeah, because I think there's nothing better than when you've had a day where you've kicked a lot of goals.
Yeah.
I'd like that. I'm almost jumping for joy when I walk in the door. I'm like, and I'll say to them, "I've kicked goals today," and they all go, "Oh, that's
Totally.
great, Mum."
And look, I have to say this sounds very old school, but there is nothing as satisfying as using a red pen to cross out an item in your diary that you've done. It's amazing.
Oh, love it, love it, love it. Yep, absolutely. Yep, it's very satisfying for sure.
So, so tell me, Kate, what are you looking forward to in the next 12 months in your business?
I just want to have a lovely, steady stream of clients. I'd love to
Yeah.
get one of my projects photographed. I just would love to get into Bell, even if it's just
Yep.
I just want to get into Bell, just
Yep.
because I can, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, it's great to have those. I'm a big believer in say the goal, put it out there, and you
Mm,
never know what'll happen.
that's right. That's right. Um, I'm actually just about to launch an Indigenous interior design firm with a friend of mine that will be a commercial interior design firm.
Oh, how
Yeah,
amazing.
which is very exciting. So yes, watch this space in the next 12 months.
Oh, that is
So
very
yeah,
cool.
so we're focusing on hotels, and offices. So
Yeah.
that will be, and that's really exciting for me, because look, we're all here to make money. We all need to
Yes.
earn a living, but
Yeah.
to have the for me, I want to have the opportunity to be able to give back to young
Yeah.
designers. So already do that here. Often we'll take on interns to finish off, their
Yep.
70 hours or whatever. Um, but I want to be able to, we're talking about creating some kind of scholarship for Indigenous interior designers to be able to work under us.
Oh, how
Yeah,
amazing.
so that to me is really exciting.
That is a very exciting 12 months and I cannot wait to hear more about it because I think that
Mm,
is, as you said, that's part of the serving that we do and it's
mm,
a very positive thing.
mm.
Oh,
That's,
how wonderful.
yes,
Okay.
exciting.
That's made me feel all warm and fuzzy. Um, Thank you so much for joining me today, Kate. I really could have chatted to you for a lot longer. And yeah, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thanks, Beth. I really loved it. I could have talked to you all afternoon too, but we've got to work.
Oh, thanks, Kate.
See you.
Thank you for listening to this design dialogue. I hope you have found it full of inspiration and helpful information to take into your design studio. If you like the podcast and want to hear more, consider sharing it or writing a review, as it helps us reach more people, and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to unlock the power of effortless studio management and elevate your design business to new heights, please follow the links in our show notes to see how more time to design can help you build a better business. Have a great week, and I will see you for our next design dialogue.